Oh my goodness, my friend. Welcome back to the Makers Gonna Learn Unfiltered podcast. In today's episode, we are turning the tables around, kind of. Alisha and Lauren decided to interview me today and really help open up my thoughts and really share. And I will tell you that we went all over the place, okay? Like, this is not a timeline story. There are some really good nuggets in here of teaching, of opening up and sharing that I truly have never shared on the internet. So I hope that you give me a little grace, like as we share and open up and be vulnerable so that you can know more about me and the journey that we have led to be here. So I hope you guys enjoy this interview. It's totally different and I think you're going to really enjoy it. So please leave me a comment if you did. Share with me your thoughts. I would love to hear from you. And I hope you enjoy Alisha and Lauren interviewing me on this week's episode of the Makers Gonna Learn Unfiltered podcast.
First of all, today we want to welcome Tanner onto the podcast.
I'm nervous.
Although he is here with us every week, or so far has been here with us every week, it's different this time because Tanner is getting interviewed by me and Alisha.
Oh, yeah. We're getting the dirty deets.
Can we just mention that I really wanted to do this podcast, like my episode by myself? And
No, you need an antagonist in your interview.
That's what you all decided.
Yes.
And I respect that. I'm a little nervous what we're going to talk about today.
It's funny because everyone knows that you're good at talking.
Thank you.
And you could easily lead a conversation about yourself and your life
For an hour. That was what I was planning to do.
Yeah, but we just kind of thought we would approach it more of what do we think that other people are going to ask about you?
And what do we think that Tanner might avoid?
Also
that he's not going to talk about.
More importantly, that.
Yes.
Yeah. I just am curious what you actually, I don't know. Let's just jump in. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to go with this?
So I think we need to go back to, which I know that you and Courtney had kind of touched on.
We left a lot out, yeah.
You did leave a lot out.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to the very beginning, Tanner Bell, pre-Courtney. What mindset were you in?
Yes.
What made you want to vlog your life? Because I really think that's your beginning.
Yeah.
Is your vlogs.
Yes. And
Tanner
back when you
vlogs.
started, people weren't doing it. And honestly, it might have even been a thing he's making videos on the internet. I feel like back then it was so taboo. It's not normal.
No,
as
everybody
it is
wants
now.
to do it now.
And
Right.
Yeah.
on top of that, because it was so taboo, you think, which I know there's an age difference, but
Sure.
when I think of 2010, 2011, but you started in what,
2010.
2010. So if I think back to 2010 Lauren and I realize that my friends are vlogging their life and putting
What
it
would you
on
say?
YouTube,
Yeah.
I don't want to say I would be a mean girl, but
You
I would
would
be
be a
like,
mean girl.
what are you doing? That's insane.
I'd be like, yeah, they vlog.
Yeah.
They got their camera.
Oh my God, they vlog.
All right. So, y'all, we're going to go back to 2010.
Okay.
Tanner's in 5th grade.
First of all, I graduated high school in 2010.
So
Both
did I.
me and Lauren.
2010.
Yeah.
Tanner. I am in the 5th grade. I have always wanted to make money. And I've always wanted to work. So in that era, before starting with the Cricut, I had a crayon maker and I would sell crayons.
Stop.
So yeah, that's where we're at. Okay. So anyway, I had a friend in school whose grandma had a Cricut, which I thought was a bug, but it cut these letters. And when my 5th grade teacher, Miss Thomas, if you're watching, oh my gosh, I love you, Miss Thomas. Miss Thomas was like, Tanner, you need this Cricut. You would love it.
She saw your potential before
She
anybody, first of all.
Miss
You need
Thomas.
to
Miss
call-
Thomas saw my potential before anybody. Yes.
I would love to have
Shout
Miss
out to
Thomas.
Miss
Miss
on
Thomas
here.
would be big on the show. She would be big. Her personality is 3 times the size of mine. And yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she's big.
We're making it happen.
We'll make it happen. Okay. So 5th grade Tanner, Miss Thomas said I needed a Cricut. So I was like, okay, I need this Cricut. Where do you get one? She said HSN. I was like, what's HSN? And come to find out, it's like this TV channel that sells stuff
shopping network
all day. It's all day selling.
Yes.
So my grandparents pick me up from school. I go home. They're supposed to help me study with spelling words. And I obviously was distracted. So my mom had just went through a pretty terrible divorce. She had got her first home and she was finishing the basement, and it was going to be like, hey, sorry, I put you through like 5 or 6 years and all these stepbrothers. I'm going to give you like this, like, we're going to have this bonus room and this is like yours. And I was like, cool, like my man cave. How sweet of you. And I really was currently trying to talk her into a projector. I really wanted a projector because I was like, this is going to be like a legit movie room. I'll get a popcorn machine.
A beanbag.
A beanbag. So the 2010 Tanner was still very visionary, yes. Like, I thought I was going to become a pediatrician. I spent a lot of time in the hospital as a kid. I had quite a few surgeries. I had pneumonia all the time. I was a very sick child. Very terrible immune system to this day. Anyway, so I call my mom after I look it up, the Cricut. The Cricut was $400 and a projector was like, $1,200 to $1,400. And my mom said the projector made her sick. So I said, Mom, $400. I'll drop the projector.
Already negotiating.
Yeah, already negotiating. Done. And that's what my mom said. And even today, you could have my mom on and she would say, I thought Tanner was going to play with this Cricut for 2 weeks. I'll return it. Bada bing, bada boom. I got out of the projector and I got out of the Cricut. That was her plan. Well, back then, that was before Amazon Prime. And my mom ordered me that Cricut that night.
Oh.
That night. Y'all. So I was
Sally was on it.
Sally was on it. She was tired of hearing me talk about this projector. And for a few $100s to get out of it, oh my gosh, sure. It was the easiest yes. So I said to Mom, I've got to learn how to use this because when the Cricut comes, I am selling stuff. I'm selling personalized stuff. Whatever I can. Bookmarks, name plaques, everything. Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you do when you have like 2 or 3 weeks before it gets here? You have to learn the machine before the machine comes, which is why I tell people every single day, learn your Cricut before you get it.
Yes.
It's so less daunting.
Do the groundwork.
Yeah. So I headed to YouTube. I barely knew what YouTube was. This is like 2010. Like nobody was on YouTube. But I got on and I started seeing these videos and I found this community. I kind of knew what creative memories was and scrapbooking, but then I found a group that was card makers.
Oh,
y'all.
Game changer.
Around that time was the big scrapbooking era.
Yeah, huge.
My mom was a huge scrapbooker.
Yep.
And she got the Cricut Expressions. Never used it.
That's okay.
Never could figure out how to use it.
Does she still have it?
No,
we have one in this closet right here.
We actually ended up selling it when we moved from Treadway. I think we ended up selling it for like
$20.
$100. No, I think we got like $100 out of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what I did was I learned the Cricut from watching these paper crafters, and I remember y'all. It was bougie. Like this Cricut was bougie. It was coming from FedEx. And y'all remember, I don't know, I feel like FedEx and everybody is like kind of even now. But back then, if you're getting a package from FedEx, it was like Apple.
Yes.
It was nice.
It was big.
Nice.
And so FedEx came like 2 or 3 weeks later. And I'll never forget, I had a table ready. I had my craft room ready.
That's so cute.
And I was ready. I didn't have a craft room. I just had a table, but that's fine. And I just remember taking it. And Mom was like, now, Tanner, there's a blade. I was like, Mom, calm down. It's like, I got it. Yeah. I was like, I got it. So I tell my mom, like, okay, I was like, let me show you. I was like, Mom, let me show you. And I unboxed it. I started cutting vinyl. I was ready to apply like stuff everywhere. And I nobody was doing stuff with the vinyl, but I was very like gravitated towards the vinyl more than paper, honestly. But everybody I watched made paper crafts. So I was like, I'll be a paper crafter.
Yeah.
Just inspired by them. I mean, this is the era of my pink stamper. She's still like the #1 Stampin' Up person. She's taught me and Courtney how to make cards, everything. Yeah. So all I remember, like from that first interaction, I would continually come home and watch YouTube videos about the Cricut. I had to have a hard conversation with my mom. And I was like, Mom, I really think I don't want to play sports. I want to make YouTube videos. And she was devastated. there was tears.
Well, she's also from East Tennessee.
So too, I can understand that. I think it's more, so if Asher came to me right now and said that, I would be like, okay, that's fine. Like, we can make it happen. But if I put myself in if I'm who I am now, but in 2010, like, that would have been like, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. I don't know.
And my mom really wanted me to play sports. She really was like, she broke her ankle in her high school career playing softball, and she was a big sports person. So she was like living out her sports in me, which was, and we've talked about it. And like, I'm really glad about it because I had so much fun while doing it, but to tell her I wanted to stop was hard.
See, I think I'm the opposite with Asher. I was huge into sports, but if he plays sports, I'm like, I don't care. You can play. If he's obsessed with baseball, but that's about it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right. Well, but everybody else is like, you need to get him in other sports. I'm like, no.
I think this is something commendable about Tanner is just in general, and I think Lauren can agree with me. Like, you literally do not care about what other people think about what you're doing.
Yes.
It's just in you. And like, I think it's something that I've had to learn as an adult, like as a 30-year-old woman, but you have just had it in you. Like, if you're going to make Cricut stuff and that's what you want to do, you're going to make like, even if your mom doesn't want you to do sports, like, you've never had that fear of rejection, I don't feel like.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly, so my mom gave me unbelievable self-confidence. The self-confidence my mother gave me is a gift that I will never be able to repay her more for.
Yeah.
And she gave it to me accidentally because I've asked her, I've read books on it. How do you create confident children? Because I want my kids to be as confident as me.
Yeah.
And I asked my mom, like, Mom, how did you do it? And she has no idea.
She just exists. She just was who she was.
She was who she was.
Right.
She had so much faith in me. She had so much faith in what I wanted to do. Every time I had a pivot, she would be nervous for me, but at the end of it, she would support it. So before I guess I decided I didn't want to play baseball, I left out a big pivotal moment to my beginning was a Saturday morning. It was probably like 2 or 3 weeks after I got my Cricut, and my mom noticed I was obsessed with these YouTubers. I mean, all I would do is watch YouTube videos. It was bad. So she said, she gave me a thought. And that Saturday morning, that thought changed everything.
Well, what was
That's all
that
it
thought?
takes.
It only takes one thought. And she said, Tanner, if you love watching these videos, why don't you make videos?
And here we are.
And here we are 13 years later. I kind of forgot to stop making videos.
Things escalated quickly.
Very quickly. Yeah. So I remember grabbing my laptop that my mom had got me, I think, even before the Cricut. And I was like, Mom, you are like onto something. So we came up with my YouTube channel name. If y'all, I'm going to tell you my YouTube channel name, and I'm just going to give a disclaimer to everyone watching. You can look this up. The videos are still there. I am like 100,000% authentically me every day. And if you don't believe it, go back and watch those videos. Guess my channel name. Do you all know? Do you know?
Is it Tanner Vlogs?
No.
Mr. Cricut Crazy?
Alicia knows.
We still have that. We still use that name in some areas of this business currently.
Okay, I remember
Mr.
now.
Cricut Crazy.
Perfect.
Beautiful.
Yes.
And
it's a good name.
And I teach people this in Inner Circle a lot about, like, they're like so nervous about their first business name. And I'm like, I have rebranded so many times, no one cares.
Yeah.
Like, you will just continually evolving and pivoting the entire time till you like reach where you're meant to be.
Right.
The amount of any action is better than no action.
Yes.
Like,
put that on a t-shirt. That's a good
say that one more time.
Can we hear that again?
Gosh, what did I say? The amount of any action is better than no action. Like,
yes.
And I think that, and when you, like, if anyone's struggling with starting, they should go watch 2010 Tanner.
Yeah.
100%. Search on YouTube, Mr. Cricut Crazy. I'm really going to regret doing that. Most of the videos on there, do you want to know what the title of most of those videos are?
Yeah.
Untitled.
Untitled.
That's the title. I didn't even title my YouTube videos.
Oh,
that's
Untitled.
That's how, like, careless. I mean, just careless I was. Like, I was just.
I think
doing
there's
it.
going to be an uptick in Mr. Cricut Crazy views after this goes live.
I'll check the analytics after this podcast goes out.
I haven't logged on there in like years.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I love that.
About a year, almost at the year mark, of making videos. I probably had like 500 YouTube subscribers. Like, how about that?
I mean, that's honestly pretty good.
Yeah, that's
I had met some
legit.
people. I'd met some cool people online, and after being on YouTube for a year, I was like, how do I monetize this? It's also it's very interesting to know my work ethic, because I always try to associate my work ethic with going through a really hard time, and we can talk about that, but I always try to be like, oh, if I didn't go through that, I wouldn't work hard. But what I want to share is I didn't have time to make YouTube videos during the day. Like, I went to school. I was in 5th grade. I did a lot of like work in my school. I was very passionate about that. I had a lot of homework to do. We had like 10 dogs, which is a whole story. So I was taking care of the dogs. So do you want to know what time I would make YouTube videos?
When?
I had a show, and it was called Wake Up with Tanner at 5 a.m.
Stop.
Are you as a 5th grader?
As a 5th grader, I would wake up at 5. I would make a card, and I would I wouldn't even edit the video. It was a one-take card. So I'd prepare everything for the card. I would film it at 5 a.m. I would edit it and upload it by 6 a.m. And then at 6 a.m., I started like my morning routine, taking care of our dogs, getting ready for school, packing my lunch, like all of that. So that's the work ethic that I had like in 5th grade.
See, and that's what I really like as a parent. How do you teach that to a kid?
My mom did not teach me that.
A lot of times I feel like there are certain people that are born with a good work ethic, and certain people have to learn and be taught a good work ethic.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong either way, as long as you end up with a good work ethic in the end.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to have to learn it. So that was kind of what I was doing. But a year after, I had to really, I was ready to, have a product. So everyone who was a paper crafter sold acrylic stamps. Have you all ever used an acrylic stamp? Be honest.
Yeah.
Are they clear?
Yeah.
And you put them on a block, and they're sold at Hobby Lobby.
Yes.
So Tanner, in 2011, started an acrylic stamp business at 11.
That's impressive.
I was on the phone with manufacturers. I had to talk them into even working with me.
You're a different breed.
I just think back to 11-year-old Lauren. Making money I was
filming videos in my parents' living room, wearing poodle skirts and stuff. I wasn't doing that.
I mean, I started working but see, that's the difference is you were creating ways to make money yourself.
Yeah.
I did start working early. I started working at 13,
Yes.
but I started working at 13 for other people.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, the big difference is you were trying to find out ways to make money for yourself. I was trying to find ways to just get a job to work.
But you probably had more profit than me.
I don't know.
I mean, no,
I
honestly.
I would get up at 4:30 on Saturday mornings and be picked up by a lady to go work the cash register at the local flea market for $50 for 10 hours.
But for me to have 50,
that was good money back then.
For me to have $50 of profit, I mean, you're probably talking multiple years of true profit. Think about that.
But
that's
your
crazy.
But still, it blows my mind that your mindset at such a young age, although you may not have had profit.
Sure.
I had profit maybe earlier, just because I worked for someone else.
Yeah.
But your mindset, knowing that if you start this early and grow, you will have profit. Or you don't think you did?
I didn't even have that thought. It was just, I think I was doing it because everybody else was.
Well,
you know
so this is a
Gotcha.
good time, I think, to insert one of our
Yes.
questions. So
Ooh.
we were talking about, and you've said this before, I think even in the inner circle coaching call.
calls. Which if y'all are in an inner circle, I go so deep.
Yeah.
You think that you're getting the business out of Tanner here. You get a completely different side.
it's like business
side.
/ deep,
We go deep.
inspirational. Yeah. So we were thinking, I think that a lot of times when you were growing up, and you kind of mentioned this before, I'm not just saying
Sure.
this, maybe you felt like you weren't fully supported
Yeah.
by everyone. And so what do you feel like was your biggest motivation at such a young age, especially?
Yeah.
What was your biggest motivation to keep going when you didn't feel like you had
the
full
support from family or
even
people
financially,
or,
emotionally?
all of
Yeah.
this.
That's actually such a funny perspective of what was my motivator. I think my motivator was to be able to create something more for myself and my future family. Like, for example, I would like be in the backseat of my mom's car at like 4 or 5 years old, and I'd be like, I want an upstairs. Like, I want stairs in my house. Like, these are the thoughts that I were having at like 4 and 5.
Yeah.
So for me, like, when I started working and no one really, I didn't tell anyone about my YouTube channel. I highly recommend that. I didn't tell anyone about my social media until like, unless you're like a really deep friend and like you had to put in a lot of work to get that. My family didn't support like me transitioning. In 7th grade, I went to a week of school and a week of brick and mortar school. And by then I was really ready to go full time with my craft business. I needed more time. I needed to figure out how to make more money. My mom had lost her job and she was going through an unbelievable time herself. And I was not supported by anyone at my school, my family, nothing of going to an online middle school.
Yeah.
So at that time, I think I was just focused on, at any of these times, I was focused on creating something for myself and like my future family. Like, I didn't know Courtney. I didn't really, I mean, I really don't know what my motivator was. Like, but you're right at the fact where I a lot of times don't need a lot of support.
Yeah,
I don't think it's more stressful. Like, people create more stress for themselves when they allow more people in because they will have more accountability.
Absolutely.
And sometimes that's stressful. That's more stressful than doing the hard work.
The fact that you recognize that at such a young age literally blows my mind. And also, do you feel like it was more of a coping skill? Do you feel like you were using like you were driven by just doing all the work to cope with whatever was happening like in your real life?
In the beginning, life was really good in 2010. My mom had just left a very like just not, I won't say it was abusive and it was very unhealthy. So like I was on the high of like me and my mom finally got out. We have something stable, like trying to get used to that. Like we locked all of our stuff up like when we lived with my stepdad and all that. It was just really horrible on both sides. Like everybody was so unhealthy for everybody. So to get out of that, it was really neat to have like a little space, but I was so used to like being protective all the time and there was no one to protect from. So that was interesting. But as things transpired and our life took a pivot, when my mom lost her job and, you know, was accused of quite a bit of things, that was definitely a coping skill. And
do you see that as looking back, do you think that was your escape?
Oh, 100%. Work it was so great for me to escape to work. It was so good. Like if anyone's struggling in a hard time, like trying to work your way out of it, I mean, is a really great way to get out of it. You know, so it's not great now because a lot of me still feels like I'm in it. That's like the work I'm doing in therapy is that I wake up every day. I mean, a year ago, I would wake up every day and I was so nervous, but
for what?
For
like
what?
For no reason.
Like, well, where is it?
Right.
Like I'm waking up like it's 2013 again every day.
Yeah.
I can't enjoy my house. I can't enjoy like nothing.
That's why we go to therapy.
Yeah,
all
that
of
is
us.
why.
So to kind of circle back to the support.
Yeah.
So and this is just from the outside looking in, and I want to know your perspective on it and how you felt and putting yourself in that mindset. You talked about how there were times where you didn't have support from people around you in your school, maybe not the most support from your family. Did you find support in your followers on YouTube? And maybe that was what part of your motivation is because you did find that encouragement and support, or no, I don't know. Like, were they, or your friends in the craft business?
I wouldn't say it was followers. I think I found a lot of support in the colleagues that I've built. I mean, I have met some of the most amazing online creatives that we're bringing to the show. that will be able to tell you all about like Tanner at like 13, like on a trade floor, like negotiating. And
I'm so excited for
Me
that, honestly.
too.
Like
Me
That's
too.
when I'm so excited.
like the people, the community that I met, the people that I actually physically met, the relationships built that expanded my perspective, that expanded my relationships. Like that's why, like, do you want to know one of my favorite quotes?
Yes.
You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And you can think of this perspective creatively, financially, spiritually, emotionally, physically. There's no area that if you know, when I'm not happy with like my relationship with the Lord, I look around who I'm spending my time with.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I need to get around people that I know love the Lord. So, I mean, and that's truly for me. Financially, if I, want to be,
if there's something that you need to, a goal or whatever, you start.
I need to find those people.
yourself.
I need to find those
Right.
people. And that can be podcasts. That can be friends. It doesn't have to just be who you spend your time with. Because sometimes, like, if we're in a job, it's hard to move our circumstance.
Right.
But the content you consume, the books you read, the podcasts you consume, the creativity you're around, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I've found that to be very true in my life.
Yes. I love that.
So is Tony Robbins one of your 5 right now?
I am actually studying Tony.
Are you
That's
really?
what I was asking.
I'm studying Tony, and his story is so fascinating.
Yeah.
I don't know much about Tony. I'm like very new to his world. People love him, and people also hate him, and I want to find out from both sides. Yeah.
People that are very loved also usually have a
to
lot
be.
of haters.
Yeah, have to be.
Because they're being their authentic self, and that's just not everybody's cup
offensive.
of tea.
And honestly,
Yeah.
I think that is, and this is just a personal thing, I'm so in awe of how you kept going with everything, because I think myself, and I think I can speak for probably most of the people that are listening, is that would be one of my biggest roadblocks. Is I'm always concerned of what others. I'm getting a lot better, but I love that you literally have never cared what anyone thinks of you. I have always been a people pleaser, so I'm getting a lot better. I'm getting a lot better. I try my best not to, and I've always been in awe of that.
I mean,
that
and
part
you
of
witness.
you.
Yeah, I mean, you witness if you witness how many boundaries I have set,
Yeah.
and I remind people constantly over whatever it may be, and it's very awkward. But at the end of the day, like, I have to answer to myself, am I happy with what I did today? Like, we all have to be accountable to that for ourselves.
Right.
Because we are the only people that can change our circumstance.
Yes.
So the boundaries that I set actually help me live out my passion and live out like what I'm called to do. And I mean, me and Courtney shared on our podcast, like, I went from selling acrylic stamps to being an online like influencer, like freelancer, and like me and Courtney was building this great business. Like, you have to understand there was a lot of interesting perspectives happening there of like, why are you leaving what is so good for you to go to something so unknown? Right? What does that go look like? Like, what does that feel like? Like, people, I mean, there was definitely like, I think Courtney's family thought I was trying to cut her out of like whatever I was building now.
Really?
We weren't married. Like,
Yeah.
every time you pivot, there's going to be thoughts and perspectives brought into it that, people aren't going, they're wanting to keep you really safe. And like, there could be a time in the next 3 years that I'm going to do something with this business or build another business. And people are like, why would you like add something else to your plate? When I launched Inner Circle, there was a lot of people that said, oh my goodness, Tanner, you have too much on your plate. I'm like, you're so funny. I work less than I ever have. Like, and it's really interesting to me that, people really have the perspective and like, how can you launch that? Like, I remember a lot of the comments that first day of launching Inner Circle was like, how can you do this? I was like, well, I've carved out the time and I'm dedicated to helping people create result. For me to take that course and pull that course out and turn it into a group coaching program. Do you want to know? I mean, I'm going to tell you, you didn't ask. I'll tell you why I had to do it. Was the course was not driving the results we wanted.
Right.
People were not taking the action they needed.
Well, I don't think that they were. I think a lot of what you saw that even myself, I did not see was that they were buying the course, but they were not taking the course.
Yeah.
They were not reading the course. So when you pull that out and created it and made it into a group coaching call, they are able to really get the course that they read and go through the curriculum. But on top of that, they get the
container of being able to mastermind with people going through what they're going through. That was not at the caliber it is today. The group coaching calls, the guest experts, like just everything that we're doing, and we're truly doing it together. In the first 30 days of that program, we saw more breakthroughs and more action taken than in the past 6 months of the course.
It's crazy.
Which was insane. So I think that's a great example of like when Tanner does something like really crazy, like it is, I'm doing it for the end vision, not the direct vision. Like what you see today isn't what you're going to see of Inner Circle of like a year from now, when there's thousands of amazing people taking action, figuring it out, and like loving it.
So I think that kind of transitions us that we had a question that we had prepared.
Where's your list of questions?
Right here.
Oh, okay.
but I think you may have kind of touched on that. It was, let's see. Oh, no. I think you already answered
You're
it.
going a different way?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fun.
Okay, I really like this one. If there were things that you would have done different as a young business owner, what are they and why?
Y'all, this is like a training. Like, okay.
Yeah.
So
Welcome to the coaching call.
If I could go back and tell Tanner of 2013, 2014, like that is the era that I went from, like I was really ready to make somewhat of money, because y'all, I didn't have, like, I don't even know how to tell this story, mainly because I just recently told my real friends. And so I'm going to get to your question, but just to get around, in 2013, 2014, 2015, like those are some years of like a lot of struggle. My mom is going through an immense amount of legal issues, emotional issues, like all of these issues. No one knew about like the financial issues. No one knew. People thought like, I guess my grandparents like were just really taking care of us. Like my business, like the story people told themselves was so good because my mom had like trained me to be like, everything's great.
Right.
Like to tell people everything's great. We do not air our dirty laundry. We do not air any of that.
One thing that I do want to say as far as like what you said, don't air your dirty laundry. I grew up just right down the road from you and didn't know that the struggles and went to church with your grandparents.
Yeah.
And didn't know the struggles that you and your mom went through until right before I started working here.
I believe it.
And when you told me.
So for me, my best friends didn't even know. The people that I would like do life with, the people that I spent time with. So, I mean, I had to recently like sit one of my best friend Kendall down, and I didn't sit her down. We were just like talking, and it just like came up, and you know that we were actually on food stamps. Like my mom would never like ever let me mention that, because it was like actual struggle.
We were on food stamps too, and my mom did not want people to know. Yeah.
If you're on food stamp, like looking back, it's like you need government assistance for a little bit. Okay, praise God for that assistance. Like, thank you for that time period. I was able to eat and not. That was one thing I didn't have to stress over.
I'm not laughing at that. I'm laughing at the fact that my mom was the one that gave out the food stamps, and we were always trying to get on them because we saw how much they helped people.
And they give you a lot. If you got a baby, you're getting like $800 in food stamps.
So
I'm not trying to make light of the situation.
You're good. It was just a really taboo thing. So that was nobody knew the struggle we were going through. So I had to pivot and find a way to actually bring in revenue to like pay our mortgage and just to do all of that, because my mom was not working. My grandparents, bless their hearts, I mean, they have done everything for us to sustain and whatnot. So I just wanted I wanted to help provide like for myself and my mom and like the whole thing. So I did the math and I was like, okay, if I go work at the grocery store, I could maybe pay my electric bill.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a lot.
How old were you here?
13 or 14.
Okay.
So not even legal.
Not even legal to work. But
Right.
but the grocery store would let you work like 15 hours a week at $7 an hour.
Okay.
At like 14.
Bag boy?
Bag boy, yeah.
Yeah.
Car guy, maybe. I don't know. So I did the math and I was like, okay, I can't do that. So I had to go work for somebody else because I had the skill of making video and the personality. And I found a company that would pay me, like at the time, I think $25 a video. So back to your question. What I would do at that time period, I had to trade time for money and work for someone else. What I wish I did more of was learn to build a product that was bigger than me and my time sooner, because I did not truly grasp the concept of building a service, a product, what have you, that is scalable without me and my time without my time input until 2017.
I mean, but you were 13.
Right. Like,
But
how do you know?
But that's what I would tell myself was stop getting comfortable making a few $1,000s a month. You know, because I was spending most of it to pay. I mean, our mortgage was expensive. Like, I wasn't keeping it. I would ask myself, which would be a lot to ask. I mean, y'all, the previous Tanner, like, I wish I could go back and just give him a hug and be like, y'all, buddy, we are just getting through this.
Don't we
like,
all wish we could do that to our younger
so
self?
Like, if that was a concept I could like go back and give myself, it would have been even better for me quicker. And I think I was slowly getting it. I don't think I would change anything on my story, but if I could figure that out sooner, heck, I mean, I'd take it.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it is.
Hindsight's 2020, I guess.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Life is so good. God's story for how he wanted things to happen and where things are led, and like it's just a testimony. Like anytime I get like any halfway nervous of like what is going to happen, I look back and I'm like, you know what?
It's that.
God is writing a story for my life and your life and like our lives that is so much better.
Yes.
Tenfold better. I mean, you've had amazing breakthrough just this week.
Yep. And
Congratulations.
we'll go into a little bit of my story, but this job in itself was a perfect example of that. It really was. And we'll talk about it in my
on your interview next.
It's
So
just crazy.
and
even Lauren's story.
Everyone's story.
It is. And it's
it's a testimony.
It is. The whole thing is like this big, it's like God's like, look what I can do.
Yeah.
You know, like almost like showing off.
It's like bet.
A lot
Bet. Do that bet.
a lot of my
I'm
say
30.
less.
I'm not allowed to say that. I don't
my
No, we aren't.
I had a lot of scarcity. I still suffer from a lot of scarcity mindset, a lot of scarcity in general. And I think I have spent the last year every day coaching myself on like being every one of our, like me becoming every employee's like biggest advocate. Like I've coached myself, like the amount of like thought work I've done to just like care for y'all and like really want the best for like every single person. I think I used to be very scarcity with the like group, and I would be like very worried about like where people were going. And like for me to now just be like, I truly want the best for you and like just every person here to your fullest.
Yeah.
Even if I was just telling Hunter, who has worked for me for 6 years, he runs my property management company. We were just talking about this, and I was like, Hunter, if you ever get an amazing opportunity, like, buddy, I just want you to know, like, I want that for you.
I
like,
support you.
So this is, I feel like, another but God moment,
Okay.
because I want you to listen to our last question that we prepared.
Okay.
How do you feel like you have changed or grown in the last 2 years with everything that has happened with the company?
Oh my gosh.
And it's just like you were talking about
Yeah.
how you went from a scarcity to.
Yeah.
So I want to know, how do you feel like you have changed and grown as a person, as an employer,
Yeah.
as a boss, everything.
That's so funny. So the scarcity mindset, I think, played a big part in probably like me showing up as an employer. I mean, y'all, the people that came before you, they went through probably so much like slaps in the face of like Tanner switching strategy, Tanner doing this, like Tanner doing that. Like, I mean, honestly, because I was still creating fires in a business that didn't have any. I was creating fire, right? I was creating problems. I was creating issues. So for me to sit back, this is our first year that we know every time that we're launching the dates from now until the end of the year. And I told the team that I want to do all of next year by October. You can't do that from not a safe space. So I had to find and get to that safe space. So, I feel bad for the way that I showed up as an employer to people that, there's a lot, the majority of people are still on our team that have went through that, and they could even attest. Like, I apologize to them all the time. Like, I'm so sorry. Some people have left. That's fine. But that is a huge part of, like, we've had tremendous growth, and how do you know what's sustainable for, like, salaries? How do you know what's sustainable for benefits? We talk about, we have health benefits now, and the company pays we pay a lot.
You do.
We pay
the best health insurance I've ever had, and I was
Me too.
a medical professional.
As someone who did have great health insurance from the state, it's pretty much this. Actually, it's comparable as far as coverage. It's the same coverage, and I actually pay less than I did when I was with the state.
That's crazy. But the company's able to do that because it is sustainable. So I think things like that, like, that's my biggest pivot, is just like investing so heavily on making sure that every person is so well taken care of, number one, that they hopefully would never want to leave. That's the secret that we don't tell y'all. Like, we just hope that everything's so good. Like, right? The way that I think I show up as an employer, and, like, have coached myself to have such positive thoughts of every person on our team. Every person. And, you all, not everybody here knows, there's a lot of creative freedom here. There's a lot of time freedom here. There's not a lot of micromanaging here. So I coach myself that everyone's using their brain to the best capacity. Everyone's doing what they think is the best. And I think that's the biggest thing for me, is just to show up and really do. But a lot of it just comes back to, like, inner work of Tanner. Like, this happens so fast.
Yeah.
Like I said, I still am very kind to previous Tanner, but I think just doing the inner work to show up as a really good employer and friend for the team. I hope you all see that. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know.
I agree with that.
Such a weird conversation to talk about it with you,
because we are your employees.
Right. But it really doesn't even feel like that a lot of the time, in my opinion. Like,
no. And we have a lot, like, you've got to have a really good executive function to work here, I feel like. Because we're not micromanaged. You have to, like, know what's next, and you have to kind of know what you're doing.
That's the environment we intentionally created. Like, there is no micromanaging here.
I like that.
No. And I think us as a team in general, it's not like I have personally, seen your growth in your personal aspect of life and employer, employee. But not only that, I feel like we have a collective, I don't know how I want to say this, like, maturity in the office. Like, everyone is pretty mature, pretty self-aware.
Yes.
We have very, I don't want to say clear boundaries, because
I think we do.
We do, because it's like, if we have something that we know, okay, this is an employee-employer, like, and we have to say this because of this relationship, but there are no hard feelings on the friend side of things.
Yeah, me and Lauren were just talking about how, especially with you two, because you have many roles, and so one of your roles is an executive assistant, but also a creative producer and also a friend. And so you have to be able to switch it on and off, both of you.
Moving around. Moving around.
And it's like, so you're switching in between these roles, and it is not easy to do.
Yeah.
I don't think, Lauren makes it look easy, but I don't think that's an easy task.
But I also want to commend Tanner. Like, I don't feel like if he didn't create the environment that we have here, that I would feel as comfortable, because coming from a job where I was previously, I may have been employed by the state, but my boss was one of our really long time family friends. I still love him and adore him. I loved him and adored him then, but it was harder for us to have that boundary, I feel like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I applaud, I guess is what I'm getting at. I applaud and thank you for doing the work and being the person that you are, and allowing us to to have that.
It's very working with friends is you can get burned. I mean, you could get burned. I mean, I think what's so funny is like me and Courtney talk about it all the time. Like Lauren, it does have to switch from role to role, and it's on and off, sideways, right? But I think just the protecting that of like that protecting the relationship and respecting that, like it's such a working with friends can be beneficial, and it's. I personally love creating friendships in work. I think that creates like such a solid boundary.
Yeah.
Bringing a friend and then bringing them in your business is actually very hard.
I think it's a little bit different.
When
too.
I had that happen, you know, I had a friend that needed more flexibility. I needed a certain role. She came in and did the role, and she like saw me in a different light, and it wasn't all fun and games, and it wasn't like
it's business.
It's business, and I mean, and she didn't agree with the calls I would make, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I make a lot of calls. Like, there's a lot of calls to be made every day. Every day, right? Like, that's, you know, I think for me, I wish, like, the one role I wish I could, like, truly step out of is, like, being the CEO and let me just be, like, Tanner the face.
Yes.
But I think if I didn't run the show and, like, get to be part of all of the building and all of the relationships, that I wouldn't believe in the mission to then show up the way I do, and the way that I can talk to the customers, and the way that I can advocate for the customer, because at the end of the day, I know I'm going to care for my customer.
Right.
I know I'm going to take such great care of them.
It's kind of a double-edged sword.
It is.
Yeah.
But I could also say, you know what? I'm needed so big. Like, it's so important to be a good CEO, to lead, that I should step out of the face. And I have toyed with that a lot of like, should that be it? And then I'm like, you know what? I wouldn't again care about the mission. Like, you know what I mean? So it's either way for me. I find it very interesting the role that I have, because I switch. I mean, people here don't know, like, we're real estate investors. I'm about to buy 13 more units. Like, we managing the business, managing all of the finances, managing all of that comes with it. Lauren knows, like, you know, it's just so much random stuff that you don't plan for. I never thought when I didn't have money, all of this would be work, and like the meetings you would have with your accountant and the tax strategy this and the financial advisor this and the money market this and the managed portfolio here. I mean, it's such a weird place. There's very far and few in between people that do the type of work we do, and
it's unconventional. Like, I think even whenever people are like, especially, I mean, for any of us really, like whenever I first started here, I was like, people were like, what are you doing? They're like, are you at home? Are you in your office?
In your
like,
PJs?
They're like, oh, that's cute.
Yeah,
that's
and they
cute.
don't. I feel like a lot of people when I tell them, when they're like, oh, so what do you do for work? And I'm like,
they're like, do you get paid? I'm like, yes.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah. Well, you
do. I get a paycheck?
Do you have a paycheck? What? So you just get on YouTube and like mess around? I'm like,
and then you're
no.
like, and then they're like, well, how many subscribers do you have? And you're like, well, like a little over 500,000.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? And then they take us a little bit more seriously. But
can we also talk about, like, for me, I went from like 13 to 20,000 YouTube subscribers for like the vast majority of my career.
Yeah.
Like, I've been working full time online way before we had like 100,000 YouTube subscribers. Like, we didn't hit 100K until 2019.
Oh, really? I didn't even realize that. I didn't realize.
Yeah. We've been on the struggle bus a long time.
So you all were at Ash Street?
No,
Ash.
The Maker's Gonna Learn really prospered the fall of 2018.
Okay.
Is when it really pivoted and like my vision really came to fruition.
Okay, we have a question about that.
Okay.
We want to know, and Lauren said she already kind of knows this, and I feel like we might have touched on it a little bit. Let me read the question directly because I don't want to say it wrong. When do you feel like, when was the turning point in your YouTube career where you said the world needs Maker's Gonna Learn? Like, was there a definitive day or like something that happened?
It was.
Okay.
Wow. Right? Like,
We had some good questions prepared.
Like, it's just it's a big topic. I mean, this is the pivotal moment of Tanner.
Yeah.
April of 2017, let's call it. I was working very late in my agency, freelance creating content for other people. It was 11 o'clock at night. I had a horrible home life, so I stayed at work all the time. I had an office downtown. We were doing okay. Not great, but we were making it and like living and whatnot. So anyway, I was up late working, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I need to build something that's like going to be bigger than me. And I was like looking back at everything, like what's my unfair advantage, right? What is the unfair advantage that I contain that can help me get to that next level? And I hadn't used a Cricut in years.
So there was like a gap.
There was a big gap.
Because that's when you went from Mr. Cricut crazy to a little craft in your day.
There was many evolutions in between that. But
and you did more like just teen crafting in general.
Yeah, it was general crafts. So I looked back and I was like, okay, I don't know any of the people I'm working for, like any of the relationships of the people. I miss 2010 Tanner because I knew the people watching. I knew the people. So I was like, what if I went back? Like, what a pivot. What a breakthrough. So then I started thinking like, okay, what do I do? Like, how does this work? So I was like, what if I teach on Cricut? So I think I got a Cricut. I don't even know how.
Was it just a random thought?
Well, I knew that it needed to be centered around another product.
Okay.
I knew, because I believe if you've invested in one product, if you've invested in a Cricut, you're 10 times more likely to seek after education to use it.
Did somebody tell you that? Or were you just like making that, like, were you just being smart? Because you are smart.
Yeah.
I'm like, did you just get to this conclusion yourself, or?
It would kind of be like 2010 Tanner when he bought his Cricut and he's sought out information on YouTube.
I knew that it was my unfair advantage. I knew it was my unfair advantage of the Cricut, right? Like I knew that I had so much knowledge of it, software of it, everything. And then I just held on to that because that was the only thing I really knew. Like I didn't have an unfair advantage in like anything else. Like editing video, I wasn't good at. Like I was going through all of my skills. So that was really interesting. And then what really happened was I kind of sat all those thoughts down in April. I had a few clients like in their contracts. I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? That was really scary. I remember going home one day crying to my mom, which I had never cried to my mom. That's how bad it was. It was really sad. But then I went on vacation with Courtney, and I needed a book to listen to. I was like, anyway, I tried out this book called The 4-Hour Workweek. And in the book, he said, you need to make your product centered around another product. I was like, well, I know what it is.
Like, I've already been thinking about
this. Yeah.
I've got this.
I've got it. So then I was like, okay. So then I went back and I started like going, and Cricut called me at an event. I was at an event and walked up to me. I was like, will you come back out here to Salt Lake City? I was like, well, I'm about to make a Cricut course. Did they find out? I knew.
They're in my DMs.
Yeah, it was face to face.
The FBI is in my DMs.
They came to me and like really told me. So they were like, fly back out here. We can't tell you why. So then I come back out and they're like, we want you to launch the Cricut Maker.
Stop.
Yeah, they asked me to launch.
I think I've seen a
Maker.
picture of this.
Yeah, so I was in a boardroom. I was probably like the smallest influencer, one of the smallest influencers in the boardroom.
Like age-wise and physically, you're probably
like capacity of like reach online.
Oh, okay,
like online
okay,
reach.
okay.
Yeah, very small. Very small. I think they thought I was like a lot bigger than I was.
Oh.
So I was like, okay, God. I was like, God aligned this. Like
Right.
somehow I got on the list. Like, come on.
Yeah,
God got me in.
But God.
Amen. Seriously, I should not
Watch
have
me
been
work.
And that's what I said. I said, Lord, if that's really what you want from me, like I'm going all in. So
I'll be there.
So the Cricut came out, and I know a lot of us have heard the story of where I had 6 videos pre-filmed because they sent us the Cricut. We, the influencers, had the Cricut before the public, before any employee had it. It's crazy. I made 6 videos, and as a sheesh, the CEO was on stage. I was hitting publish, and everybody. My YouTube channel grew so much. The channel, it was Tanner Vlogs, the channel, and that ended up evolving into Tanner Vlogs, Tanner Bell, 2 Makers Gonna Learn, and that day they actually invited me on stage, so I got to speak and tell about my own Cricut journey, which they called me like the day not before. Anyway, got to speak at stage of the Cricut event, and everybody started being like, "Who is this kid?" Because I was like 18. I had just graduated high school.
They had to still be like amazed.
There's people like, oh yeah, I remember you, and people like, oh my gosh, I love you. So that was kind of how the start of it, like I started growing and teaching and sharing, and I would do live stream like, oh, hey, look at how easy it cuts fabric. Like I was live, like you need this machine. So then that was July. August, the machine was rolling out in like August of 27th or something. And I was like, I'm going to have a launch party. I was going to have a launch party that night. And I was like, what could I do at the launch party to like really serve? I was like, I should have a course about the Cricut come out. Because I have the Cricut and I can build the curriculum and nobody else has a Cricut. Like no other of the top Cricut influencers had a Cricut. I had a Cricut.
Yeah.
They didn't even have it. Which was shocking.
Yeah.
So people were ticked. Like there was a lot of drama.
Yeah.
A lot of drama.
I'm sure.
Anyway, people wonder, like people that helped Cricut make millions of dollars, they didn't give them a Cricut, but they gave me one.
Why not?
Don't know. I literally don't know.
Do you think that their strategy was because they had these bigger influencers they thought that they had more of a capacity to do what you did? So they thought if they got a smaller influencer that
it was really, I mean, as a marketer, it was a terrible idea. Like they should have
But was it?
For me, I mean, it was great.
Yeah.
But the influencers that work so hard for Cricut and like, people that were making really good money from being an affiliate for Cricut wasn't part of the program, which was strange. Different people manage different programs at Cricut corporate. So it was very funny to be it was very corporate-esque. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I had a launch event and I offered a $27 class and it was like 20 something videos. And for $27, I launched that Cricut that night. And that was the first time that I was like, this is my new home. I mean, y'all, I think I made more money that night that I probably ever made in like a month and a half to 2 months.
That's crazy.
And I went and told my mom like how much money was made. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it was like 5 figures. I think it was like $10,000 to $13,000 that night out of $27 sales. It was something crazy, astronomical.
How many subscribers did you have at this point?
20,000.
So do you feel like
it was never about numbers. It was never about numbers. It was about the relationships that we build and the people we care for. And that's what it always was when I pivoted, and it was less about numbers and more about relationship. And that's what it still is today. That's why 600,000, like we love it. Yeah. But like we really work for the people of the membership. Like that's the cool part. So
for sure.
So that's when I did the course. It was a 6-week course program. I would release a course every week. And then after that, people were like, what's next? What's next? What's next? I was like, well, do you want to go deeper on design space? So I did like a little design space class. And they kept asking. People kept asking, like, what's next? What's next? What's next? I was like, well, what is next? And I wanted to pair one thing I didn't really like about the industry, and I still don't, is that companies that make cut files only make cut files. Mm-hmm. And the people that make those cut files aren't crafters. They're just graphic designers. They're just doing their thing. They don't know how this is used. They don't know all that. Yeah. So I was like, okay, how do you take cut files and how do you merge it with education? And how do you get like truly all three? And y'all know like inspiration, education, motivation is like how I like articulate like what we do here. So that's what I wanted to do. I was at the educator. Do you want to know how I found our first graphic designer?
Yes.
So funny. I'm going to have her on the podcast, but she literally is so cool. I got introduced to her from a friend, and we go to meet at Starbucks, and she's a hand artist. She still works with us today. Her name's Mary Catherine. How rude. Evan, we needed to have him on the podcast. I'll call him back. Mary Catherine and I went to Starbucks, and I was like, hey, can you make me cut files? Like, I need SVGs.
Mary Catherine was your first one?
She was the first artist.
I didn't realize that.
Yes. First artist ever.
We love her.
We love her.
Still here.
We really love her. Yeah. Anyway, so we love her. And what's so funny is like months later, she was like, yeah, Tanner, I had no idea how to make a cut file. But I said yes.
She didn't.
She had never made an SVG. She just drew and like painted. She was a painter making signs. So we figured it out, and like me and her went back and like made sure the files were good, and like we launched we launched the membership that November.
What year was that?
2017.
I have a very funny thing. Keep going. You're
good.
Revisit.
So anyway, I met Mary Catherine. I was working to have her make cut files 30 a month. I was doing education, and we were building this platform, and we launched it. And I literally said, this is a viable option for me. And I think for anyone with a business, you always want to have a viable minimal launch. viable minimal launch.
Okay.
Meaning, what is the number? What is the least amount that you have to sell to continue doing it? Do y'all want to know what my number was?
What?
65. If I could have 65 people join the monthly membership at $19.99 a month, I will continue doing it.
How many did you get?
220.
Stop.
And mainly people went annual. I never thought people would believe in me to go ahead and commit for a year.
So with that being said, did that scare you at first? Because at that point when they committed annually, and I feel like we've had this conversation to an extent, once they committed to you annually, you had to figure out, okay, so now I have to make this be able to last at least a year.
Yeah.
I have to provide for these people for at least a year, or I have to give them their money back.
Yeah. So I was trained. I was equipped enough to be like, everything's okay. You can always refund the people. You can always give the money back. You can always refund them. You're going to take such good care of them. Like, that was the goal. So for me to go from my goal was to have 65 at the monthly, y'all, we focus on annual members, not because that's what I ever wanted to do. The members actually spoke for themselves.
Yeah.
Like the founding members created this rapport. And I found what was interesting through my research and through the data and through the people that had the most results in our program went annual.
Really?
The most people that were committed and like did the work were annual.
Well, I mean, that really makes sense.
They're in it to win it.
Yeah. And if you only sign up for the month at a time, like you may sign up and be like, I'm not really going to 100% commit to this thing. Like I'll see if I do it this month. If I don't, I'll do it next month.
So
whatever.
I didn't like people not committed to themselves. I want to work with people that are committed not only to the process, but to themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
So the people that were getting the most results went annual. So I said, okay, what can I do to convince people to go annual? I'll give them more. And that's how the annual membership was born. We have since altered that, and now monthly and annual are about on the same level playing field. There's still bonuses and things if you go annual. But it is very funny that the members, I just never thought people had the belief in me to pay annual. So for me, financially, that first that startup money was so good to have up front because I could commit to Mary Catherine Burke to like make us art for a year.
Yeah.
I could commit these things and, we could spend money to make money, right? Like that was like essentially, I mean, this has all been self-funded.
Yeah.
We've never taken like any money. Like this is all a self-funded venture.
It's never had any, we've never had any investors.
There's never a need for an investor, right? Like, I mean, there's nothing to invest in.
Right. It's a digital product.
It's digital. Like
Yeah.
we're just, creating and crafting and then, just letting it grow very sustainably, very naturally. Our operations officer, Mary, was our only full-time employee at the time. Like, she's been with us for 5-6 years. Like, it's
crazy.
It's just crazy. So yeah, that's kind of the start of Maker's Gonna Learn. And it took like a year, 2 years or more to like become my full-time job. I continued working that whole time. This Maker's Gonna Learn was my side hustle. Isn't that funny?
That's
like
it's
insane.
wild.
it was my little side project that nobody believed in.
Yep.
Like all my friends.
Listen,
were like,
nobody's going to believe in you more than you believe in yourself
Yeah.
ever. And that's what you got to remember, I think.
What was the story you were going to circle back to?
Oh, so I knew that my interview was coming up, and I thought I'm going to look back at our mine and Tanner's messages because Tanner reached out to me via Facebook
And
whenever I got hired.
You saw my old messages to you.
Tanner texted me in 2018 on October 17th of
What did I
2018.
say?
I didn't remember this happened.
What did I say?
He said, "Hi, I absolutely love your DIY projects and crafts. Have you ever used a die cutting machine like a Cricut or Silhouette?" And I said, "Thank you. I use a US cutter." That's all I said because I hadn't used a Cricut. And you said, "Nice. We're looking to add someone to help create innovative projects with our cutting files. Are you looking for any extra freelance work?"
Yeah.
And then I asked you how much you're wanting or would it be weekly or monthly? And then I didn't hear it back from you until November of 21. You ghosted me.
Alicia, you literally, in 2017, 2018, I wanted you on the team.
I know. Isn't it weird that I just missed that opportunity? But
it wasn't. I think this is you got such a better opportunity.
I think
this was a God ordained job position. I am not kidding.
It happened all when it needed to happen.
I agree with that so much.
But I took you know how I met you, right? Like, you don't know how you met me, but I know how I met you.
I think
I took a painting class.
Oh yeah, one of my painting classes.
I took a painting class
downtown,
and you were like, I was so relaxed learning from you. It was so fun, and I just always looked back and I was like, you know, if I could ever have a crafter work for me, like, this is the energy I want.
Oh, it's so crazy, isn't that weird?
I'd never. See, I didn't know that. I've not
That's
heard
crazy.
this story.
Yeah.
Well, I met a lot of people doing those paint classes, but
It's so
I didn't.
good.
I briefly remember you one time. Tanner came into the pottery studio I worked at and was asking to buy maybe some of our
social artworking.
Yeah, so we
I worked
sold
for that company. I worked for Deco Art.
Okay.
That was like my biggest contract.
And so we worked with social artworking too. That was like our people. And anyways, the owner of the studio was like, some guy named Tanner came by and he was like asking to purchase our designs maybe, because I did all of our designs at the studio. I painted all of our paintings. And I was like, that's weird. Is he trying to take our business?
That's so funny. Yep, that's me.
But I didn't realize what you were. I was just misunderstood.
I think I needed it. Like, the paint wasn't getting here on time, and I like just needed probably something like last minute.
That was literally so long
I was
ago.
working for Deco Art, and I just knew that you carried the product.
Yeah, we
but
did.
I'm sure it worked out.
Yeah.
I'm sure it worked out.
So anyways, that was a long time ago. Holy moly.
Y'all. I'm
So
very
Makers
impressed
Gonna
with
Learn
it.
was started in 2017, and he reached out to you in 2018.
Yeah, I was trying to recruit. I was trying to recruit amazing people.
But
to
I
serve
didn't
our
start
members.
here until 21. So
Everybody's stories.
everything happens
Your
for a
official
reason.
first day was 22.
Oh, yeah.
But
Oh,
we
yeah.
connected.
Yeah, we connected in 21.
Yeah.
So anyways, stay
love
tuned
it.
for my interview.
Do you have, next week we're interviewing Alisha.
Yes.
What, is that it? This was easy.
I mean, let me make sure that we didn't skip any questions,
so
because me
good.
and Lauren thought
We
these
might
out.
have to converse.
I think so. We talked about the turning point when you decided on Maker's Gonna Learn, your motivation when you felt like you had no support, things you would have done different, and then the ways that you've grown. So I feel like we touched on everything.
I love it.
Mindset.
I love it. Well, y'all, thanks for interviewing.
This was very insightful. I've learned
different.
something. Did you learn new stuff?
Yeah, to an extent. Yeah, I feel like I knew a lot of things, but I feel like Tanner has opened up a lot about.
I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for
proud
that.
of you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you all comment and let us know what you think.
Yes.
And we are just so grateful for all of you. Continue watching the podcast. They're going to be launching every Monday. Courtney really wants them to launch at like 6 a.m. because she thinks people would want to listen to
so
it
you
like,
can
on their
listen
way
to
to
it.
work.
Yeah.
So we may be
Love
working
that.
on that. Please
That's
let
a
us
good
know
idea.
if that would interest you. If you want to listen to us on your way to work, we'll be your Monday motivation. But the YouTube videos we'll be posting every Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern. Be sure to comment. We love the comments that we're getting. So please comment and just like share.
The one thing that, the comments were my biggest. I was real scared of the comments personally, but the motivational comments that I got to see last week, and I hope that we get to see this week on Tanner's episode, I don't go back and read comments very often, but I definitely am going to start going back and reading comments on the podcast for sure.
So it's going to be like the podcasts are like a little special place. Like not everybody's going to want to listen to the podcast. It's
And that's
long.
fine.
That's fine. We're doing this for like a very intentional group that want to go deep. If you love conversations like this, definitely take our 5 Secrets training, learn more about Inner Circle. It's an amazing platform. And y'all, thanks so much for being here. We'll talk to you soon.
See ya.
Bye.